right, good morning, family. Welcome back. A beautiful day. Broadcasting live from beautiful Cincinnati, Ohio. It's the last honest place in Cincinnati media, the Nathan Ivey Show. On today's show, what is wrong with Terry Crews and black people like him? Have you heard the latest? I want to talk about that. Also, some very interesting Senate hearings yesterday that had to deal with William Barr, who is the leader of the Department of Justice, currently the U.S. Attorney General. You want to stick around to hear those clips. Don't go anywhere, family. The Nathan Ivey Show will be starting in just a couple of minutes. Please take a minute and share today's show. Your shares mean everything. All right, good morning, family. Welcome back. It's a beautiful, absolutely beautiful Wednesday. The weather is great here in the Cincinnati area. Good morning and welcome back to the Nathan Ivey Show, where nothing is funnier than the truth. Men are allowed, check that, expected to be men. And of course, lames get their plane shot down like John McCain. If you'd like to share your thoughts this morning, 513-873-7134. You can also find me on Twitter, Nathan from Cincy. I will give you my IG, but I'm about to change it. I'm not sure even what's up with my IG account anymore. I got locked out for some reason. I have no idea. What did you do? Who did it? Good morning, everybody. On today's show, what in the hell is wrong with Terry Crews and black people like him? Have you heard the latest? We'll discuss. Plus a smattering of topics that involve people, politics, and pleasure. It's your morning destination for interesting conversation. As I said before, it's the Nathan Ivey Show. And good morning, family. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, we back on the show. There it is. Let me know as long as you can hear and see me. It is all good. Good morning to you. Let me adjust everything. Yeah, we back in the building. Good morning. How are you? Hope you had a great Tuesday. Today is shaping up to be a wonderful Wednesday. Good morning to you. Many things to discuss. Listen, if you have topics that you would like to add to the conversation, please feel free to do so. Drop a link. You can go to my Spreaker page this morning and you can leave a link. I'm always open to suggestions for the show. And again, I can't possibly see everything. So you can be somewhat of a producer on the show. each and every day. Plus, you can join the Friends Who Like the Nathan Ivey Show. It's a closed Facebook group page. We get together, we connect. I use it as show prep, and it's a great way. If you live in the greater Cincinnati area in particular, it will be a resource to you. Good morning. Again, 513-873-7134. Welcome to the Nathan Ivey Show. Great to be with you. We're up on Facebook and also on YouTube, the Nathan Ivey Show. Good morning. And I got to stop inside the chop shop and say what's up to the choppers this morning. I see Pam is first this morning. Okay, Pam, looking good as always. She writes, good morning, all. Followed by Jared. Jared writes, good morning, hashtag team and I. Good morning to both of you. Brenda writes, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, Brenda. Angela writes, salutations. Salutations to you as well, Angela. Good to see you. CJ writes, good morning. I think he means good morning, all. Hey, good to see you, CJ. Good morning. Buckeye Alicia writes, God's morning, Nathan and the Choppers from the Gym City. Where we at here?
Get to the chopper!
It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday. Ashley writes, good morning, Nathan and the Choppers. Happy hump day. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. How you holding up in these COVID-19 days and times? You okay? You know what I'm saying? If you need to plug in, make sure you plug in. Hope you're doing well. Everybody is dealing with this whole shut in and social isolation differently. For folks like myself, this ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? This is what I normally do. I work from home. I always had a home office anyway, and would just go back and forth from a studio to the home office. But for a Virgo such as myself, this ain't nothing. For other folks, the social butterflies out there, how you holding up? What you doing? You okay? Hold it down. Tracy writes, hi. Mr. Marlin writes, morning, Nate and the Choppers. Hashtag flows rated E for everybody. Hashtag free Joe Biden VP pick. Free Terry Crews. Exotica drop wolf. Hashtag Donald Trump is crazy, but Joe Biden is ... Hashtag free Joy Reid and Chris Matthews. Yeah, just yesterday, the U.S. Attorney General was brought to Congress to answer some questions that had to deal with a wide range of things, but also dealt with what we saw in terms of the crackdown on peaceful protesters. And a lot of the exchange was quite interesting. It was quite interesting. I've got clips for you. And some of these clips may be a minute or two long, but it is worth your time, family. You need to hear this. It is quite interesting what went down and what the U.S. Attorney General said in relationship to Donald Trump, in relationship to Trump pardoning Trump's friends, in relationship to Trump being able to change the election date. That's right. I said it. Very interesting and eye-opening. Eye-opening. You must hear it for yourself this morning. 513-873-7134. I want to discuss it all this morning. The good, the bad, and the ugly. I want to discuss with you this morning. A lot of things going on. But first, let me start with Terry Crews, who was the subject of today's cover photo. I don't know what's going on with this brother, man. It seems like he's having some issues. Now, Terry Crews is an African-American. I say he's an entertainer. You know, he's an actor. He does comedy. He's been in a lot of television shows. Remember Malcolm in the Middle? He played the father. Remember there was a movie that was done by the Wayans brothers called White Chicks. He played a guy in there. I'm not sure what his role was. Had an epic, iconic, funny moment on the dance floor. And he has been in the media ever since he came out and attached himself to the Me Too movement. Remember this? When he admitted that he had a Me Too moment of his own. And I guess he was trying to help to make the point. And he told the story of how he was at some big swanky Hollywood party. You know, you got, all kind of like actors and entertainers and famous people and producers, big time producers. And Terry Crews could have kept his stories to himself, probably should have, but he put it out there that while he was at this party, a white male producer, and he's with his wife, by the way, because Terry Crews is happily married. I think they have a couple of kids. Terry Crews put it out there that this white male producer grabbed him by his testicles, like through his clothes. And he didn't do anything about it. He said he was so upset about it, but I guess he was afraid to come forward and do anything about it. So he waited until the Me Too movie came out, and then he wanted to attach himself to that. It just wasn't a good look. And ever since then, he's been making comments in the media about things. And most recently, he's been taking crazy heat on Twitter for challenging Black Lives Matter, for challenging why if Black people are so upset, then why don't you focus on black crime, right? What about black on black crime? Yeah, one of those kind of brothers. And most recently, he tweeted that an acronym for the word coon. Now, you know me, I'm not into calling black folks names and all that kind of stuff. I'll leave that for other folks. That's not really my thing. But he tweeted this just yesterday. And he tweeted, matter of fact, I can't even do it justice, yo. Let me just put it up on the screen and you can speak for himself. I don't know what this brother was trying to say or what he was trying to do. I don't get it. I mean, it's his Twitter page. He can tweet whatever he wants to tweet. But, you know, in these days and times, when you tweet something like this and you've been taking heat and criticism for your anti-Black Lives Matter stance, like I said, it's one thing to say that you believe in equity, policy, and tangibles, so you're not really about murals. That's one thing. That's one thing. It's yet another when you out here talking about, you know, if black lives really matter, then why are black people killing each other? Let me put this up on the screen for you for just 1 second. It's going to take over the whole screen. Yeah. That's what Terry Crews tweeted. An acronym for the word coon, because a lot of people have been calling him that. And again, I don't really get into that kind of name calling. I do name calling. I ain't gonna lie to you, but I don't like to get that deep with it. But so he tweeted an acronym for the word coon, COON, conquer our own negativity. I've seen this from a few of my Facebook friends. Perhaps they're watching this morning and people have kind of tweeted like, what about black on black crime? And I really want to take some time within the first hour, family, and break this all down again. Like, if you're one of these black folks that don't believe in the Black Lives Matter movement because you feel like it's pointed in the wrong direction, it's pointed at like police officers that kill black people and get away with it, and it should be pointed at, you know, the so-called black on black crime. I want you to listen up. Please share this, family. It's real important you shared it this morning because I want to break this down so it can always and forever be broken. So we don't have to have these kind of conversations anymore. Okay. And I want to break down what the difference is and why one makes no damn sense at all. At least not in this moment. Let me take it from the top. My historical view when I hear black on black crime is that it's used as a way to deflect and distract. Let me share a quick story with you, family. I'm going to take you back many, many years to when the war in Iraq was raging. I'm on the air doing what I do, you know, local iconoclast, you know what I'm saying? Keeping it real in a way that nobody else can or will. And I invited an editor. I forget the brother's name. I'm not even sure if he's around anymore. But at the time, he was an editor for the Cincinnati Enquirer. He was a brother, by the way. I can't even remember his name. I reached out to him and brought him on the show. We had a conversation, and I'll never forget this. You know, at the moment, the reason why I brought him on because I was so upset with the Enquirer and the absolutely just terrible way that they were covering the war in Iraq. You know, because of my own readings, I was reading things like McClatchy News organization. Shout out to McClatchy. They do great work. And during the Iraq war, McClatchy News Services was A1 in my opinion, in terms of delivering American news that was really real, right? Both sides of the story about what was really going on. Now looking back, we all know that our rationale for going to war in Iraq was a bunch of BS. It was neoconservatives, the Bush administration and Dick Cheney and Halliburton and all of those various actors that led us into that war so that rich people could get richer. And I'll say it again. If you didn't make any money off the war in Iraq, then you was a victim just like me. All those young men and women lost their lives for what? Because Iraq had nothing to do with 911 at all. There's no evidence. There's no connection. The neoconservatives just was like, you know what? Money time. Let's make money. And so I brought this editor on from the Inquirer to take him to task about the war in Iraq. And I'm doing what I do. I can't remember what I said, but I'm going through the motions, right? I'm letting them know. And this black man said to me, shouldn't you be focused on the black on black crime? This is what he said to me in the middle of this conversation. I hit the roof. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this is many years later, 10 years later, I'm still bringing it up as an example. And it just underscores the way I feel when I hear people bring up black on black crime when people are talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. What? Huh? Negro, what'd you say? Say again? What about black on black crime? You sound like a damn fool. You know, smart people can't be taken off their target. You know what I'm saying? The smart, intelligent black folks stay on their target with a laser focus. You know what I'm saying? You can't just say, what about black on black crime? And make us stop thinking about the fact that police officers who are armed get away with killing unarmed citizens, primarily unarmed black citizens. And so that's just one huge difference between those two. Like when citizens kill other citizens, more than likely they are brought to justice, meaning that they have their day in court. And in some cases, based on the evidence, they go to jail. You can't say the same thing when you're talking about armed officers. I mean, there's a long list. The statistics are real about that. It's very difficult for an officer who is armed to be found guilty of killing an unarmed person, especially when that's a black person. You can see Bruce Hoffbauer for that. He got away with it back in the 90s with those old racist systems that were in place to protect officers that overreact and kill citizens who are unarmed. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see the connection between the two. But then my challenge for all those what about black on black crime black folks is, what are you doing about it? Like, if you really are concerned about black on black crime, then you must be concerned about all of the underlying and root causes of those crimes, right? Again, you go to any neighborhood, I don't care who is populated by. If you take out the hope, you put in inferior schools, you put in food deserts, you pump in a lot of dope, you're going to get crime. I don't care who it is. They can be black, they can be Asian, they can be white, they can be Chinese, they can be Irish, they can be Native American. It really don't matter. And then 3, the statistics are very, very clear when it comes to crime. And you're much more likely to fall victim of crime from somebody that lives in your neighborhood and somebody that looks like you. I.e., white folks are far more likely to be murdered by white folks. But you never hear about what about white on white crime? You never hear that, do you? You know why? Because it's disrespectful, it's disingenuous, and really it doesn't get to the heart of the matter. They only use that in the black community when black people start criticizing the way they're treated by law enforcement. Soon as those voices get loud enough, it's like, oh, wait a minute. They making points. What about black on black crime? You sound like a damn fool. Anybody putting up them memes that I've seen, Facebook friend, I don't care, friend, family member, I don't care who it is. You sound like a damn fool. You sound like you read a book and now you're the smartest person in the room. I don't know what's more dangerous. The person that's never read before or the person that's read one article, one book, and now you a brainiac. Please stop. Please stop. You don't make any sense, Terry Crews. And all the Terry Crews lookalikes is running around here talking about, what about black on black? You are the problem. You're the problem, sir. Because like I told you, crime, if we really cared about crime, like in this city, if you really cared about crime, then we'll be addressing the root underlying causes of that crime, right? If you really care about murders and mistaken identity and drive-bys, then let's deal with the root underlying cause. The root underlying cause of so-called black on black crime is not that they're black. However, the root underlying cause of black people being brutalized by law enforcement is because they're black. It is. White folks get different treatment. Black folks are far more likely to fall prey to police brutality, to be killed by the police than our white counterparts. Why is that? Because we're black and racism is alive and well. Alive and well. So my challenge is to all those folks out there that care about black on black crime. What are you doing about it? What are you doing about poverty? What are you doing about equity and policy and tangibles for those communities? What are you doing to try to get the dope out the communities? Because again, these black folks, these local dope dealers are not the grand masters of the drug trade. They're every bit, on some level, they're as victimized by that fast money as the drug addicts are the fast drugs. But nobody wants to talk about that. Like it's far easy to vilify than to really try to understand what's really going on, in my opinion. But I just don't get it. And Terry Crews, this little acronym, what is it? Conquer our own negativity. You sound, man, stop. Please stop. It ain't working. We don't believe you. Nobody's going to make a t-shirt out of it. You know what? He came up with a cool acronym. You didn't come up with a cool acronym. You sound foolish, bruh. Conquer our own negativity. Man, you can't even conquer your own fears. Why would we take advice from a man that can't even protect himself? Like D.L. Hughley said, you got all them muscles, but you letting dudes roll up on you and grab you by your junk in front of your wife. But we're supposed to listen to you, bro. You got deep issues. Now, listen, I know a little bit more about the Terry Crews story. He actually grew up in an abusive household. Okay, so I'm willing to give the brother a pass because I think if you grew up in an abusive household, like his father was a very abusive person to his mother. He grew up watching his mother get smacked around by his father. That's the reason why he started working out. At least that's what he said anyway. Because he wanted to make sure that he could protect himself and be strong and nobody was going to do what his father was doing to him. And I'm sure it's really just messed up his head, bro. But it's only so much space we can give you in the public sphere. You know what I'm saying? How much more space we want to give you? You let this man grab your junk. You ain't do nothing. Then you want to get on Twitter whining about it. It's over. You know, some things, if they not dealt with in the moment, it's over. There's no talking about it afterward. We don't want to hear your story. We ain't going to sit around crying and holding your hand. It's over, bruh. He should have took that story to the grave with him. Like women take the secrets of infidelity to their partners to the grave. I'm hitting on multiple fronts this morning. 513-873-7134. What is wrong with this dude? Let me put this back up here. Man, I don't think so. Somebody posted this on Twitter. Oh, it was coming in hot. Got to give him props for this on Twitter. Coming in hot. Got to get a brother's prop. He said, this is what Terry Crews sees when he looks in the mirror. That's hilarious. Damn, I hope it's not true. For Terry Crews' sake, here's what I see. You're looking at what I see when I look in the mirror every morning. What in the hell? So please stop with this what about black on black crime stuff. Why don't, and again, for all those people that are pro, you know, they really believe that black on black crime is something we should be focused on. Why don't we ever hear white on white crime? Why don't we ever hear that? White folks be killing their mothers and their fathers and burying their children in shallow graves. You don't never hear anybody say nothing about no damn white on white crime. Why is that? Because it don't make no damn sense. That's why. It's disrespectful to the victims, but we don't mind disrespecting black victims in our culture. We do it so freely, we don't even understand when we're doing it. It's disrespectful to the victims to even call it that. It doesn't properly define what's going on. And it's misleading as hell. That's why you got FOP union chiefs, right, around the nation. They love to talk about black on black crime. What we should be talking about is all these murders. No, what you need to do is get these detectives out here and do their damn jobs. That's what needs to happen. And again, I say, if we really serious about black on black crime, you sound like a fool. If we really serious about them, why aren't we trying to fight for equity policy tangibles? Why aren't we trying to close the racial wealth gap? Why aren't we trying to make sure that we take as much dope out of these neighborhoods and put in the hole? Why are we not addressing the root causes of it? Because some of these same people that's talking about it don't really care. It's just some ish to say. That's all it is. It's just some ish to say. They don't give a damn about murders in the black community, because if they did, they'd be doing something about it. Just like Dusty Rhodes don't care about black babies being aborted or black babies in general, because if he did, he'd be doing something more than talking ish in local media about it. Simple as that. Yeah, I want to see more. What about white on white crime in the local newspaper when white folks brutalize one another? Be chopping each other up, killing their family members. Remember this stuff that happened like 3 years ago? The whole family got massacred. Whole family was massacred. Men, women, children, killed by family members. Literally. Not one time did anybody say, what about white on white crime? Black folks, stop using that. Stop internalizing that nonsense. Some black folks, I won't say all, but some of y'all do that way too much. Don't even legitimize it. Don't even legitimize it. That's just a way for some black folks to get like, oh, you's a good little pet. They pet you on the head and say, oh, yeah, you had the courage to say it. Please stop. Just a little memo from me to you this morning. Please stop. And take Terry Crews with you. I saw somebody on Twitter say, we, the black delegation, want to trade Terry Crews for one Arctic penguin. I thought that was hilarious. Hilarious. Please stop. I don't want to hear no black folks talking about that at all. Especially if you ain't out there doing the work. Get out here and do something about it. And it's also disrespectful because you're overlooking all of the black folks that's out there in the streets working on it. There are black people dedicated to this on multiple levels, to that issue of crime in the black community, right? Pain in the black family every single day. They march, they get in the media, they raise awareness, they do all kinds of things. It's disrespectful to their efforts to say that, well, nobody's talking about this. Please stop. Memo from me to you. Good morning to you. Let me see. Angela writes, thriving in COVID-19. I'm glad to hear it. Angela writes, aftermath of sexual molestation is what's going on with Terry Crews. I kind of spoke about that earlier. Yeah. As I delved a little deeper into his background, I mean, the brother's dealt with some trauma. And as we know, shout out to Ron Hummons and the work he's doing, right? Raising awareness, trying to start a state of emergency in the state of Ohio about trauma. Trauma in your childhood can have it will have a huge effect on yourself and any relationship you have moving forward. Maybe that's up with Terry Crews, but enough is enough, man. Sharp writes, good morning, Nate and Choppers. Good morning to you. Mason Mahler writes, used to be Don Juan, now he's just Twan. Angela writes, he is slowly descending into a dark space. Yeah, but trying to claw his way back, I guess. Hey, I see the Minister of Information's in the house. He writes, what's up, Nate? Hey, what's up, Minister? Good to see you, man. I'm inside the Chop Shop on Spreaker. Miss Tiffany writes, good morning to you. Terry Crews, black men being fondled by white Hollywood matters. I'm reading it, folks. I'm not making this up. Mike Jones is in the house. He writes, good morning, Choppers. Good to see you. Mason Mahler writes, McClatchy News is a great source of information. A1. And back during the war in Iraq, they were a top of the food chain in terms of giving you unfiltered and real, unbiased news on the war effort and the politics behind it. And if you were just reading your local newspaper, you were grossly misinformed. That's a true story, by the way. This black man said, why are you talking about this? You should be talking about black on black crime. What? Negro, what'd you say? You say it again now? And see, that's the same thing you used to do to say to Dr. King. Not in any way am I comparing myself to the great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King at all. But I'm just saying that when you start talking about war efforts and equity and finances, then media will try to tell you, right? Even liberal media will try to tell you, why don't you focus on what's going on in the black community? As if what's happening in the black community is not a part of the global conversation. That's what they was telling Muhammad Ali. Like, why are you worried about the Vietnamese? Don't you got enough problems in the ghetto? Why are you worried about that? Should you be worried about the ghetto? Kush writes, good morning, Nate and the Mighty Choppers with a Z. Good morning to you. Ray writes, grand risings all. Sister Iris writes, good morning, great people. Cassandra writes, hey, y'all. Hey, good morning, everybody. Let me jump over to Facebook. Gerald writes, what up, dope choppers? Hey, what's up with you, Gerald? Good to see you. Anthony writes, morning, chop shop. So that's my opinion about it. I've got a very strong opinion about the whole what about black on black crime conversation, but I want to open up the door for your opinion. You might have a completely, as in 180, completely different opinion. Okay, you might be one of these pro Terry Crews cats who's like, you know what, I thought the same thing, Nate. I would love to hear your thoughts this morning. All right. This is a safe space, regardless of my strong black male conscious opinions. I always will give you the space to say what you have to say. We can always agree to disagree. But I'm hoping here in the greater Cincinnati area, we can come to some conclusions on this morning. Let's break this down this morning so we don't have to be irritated by these conversations anymore. To me, I think it's an irritation, but I'm into it. I'm open. I don't see it and I don't get it. One has nothing to do with the other per se. Well, if black lives really matter, then why are black people killing one another? I don't want to hear that issue no more. I don't want to see no memes. All right. I don't want to read no articles. I don't want to listen to no podcast. You know, if that's in the heading, I want to break this down this morning and come to some understanding on this. Okay. Can we do that, please? So fire up the engine in your own brain, do a Yahoo search of your heart, decide who you are. You know, my motto, there's two types of people in this world, button pushers and button watchers, right? Push those buttons, 513-873-7134, and tell me what you think, family. I'm open to it. Like I said, I got a strong opinion about it. I don't see the connection whatsoever. Most recently, there was a young black girl that was killed. I can't remember exactly where, but she was the victim of a drive-by. And the family members came out, and I think it was a father. He was making a very desperate plea. And again, I give this man nothing but space and latitude. He's a victim. He just lost his daughter. And he's like, well, if black lives really matter, then what's going on? And even in that case, I thought he was in error. I thought he was in error in terms of the greater context of it. But again, if you've lost somebody, I give you a lot of latitude and space to grieve the way you want to grieve. But one has nothing to do with the other. Because like I said, when crime happens in our community, they put up all kind of Crime Stopper videos, right? Sometimes they might go into the media. They may have an image. I've seen images of people. They're looking for them. And when they find them, if the evidence points in their direction, they get charged. And if the case is strong enough, they go to jail. That don't happen with police officers. It don't happen with law enforcement. Again, ask Bruce Hoffbauer. He got away with it back in the 90s. Now he wants to be Hamilton County Sheriff. So that's the reason why. Do I really need to say this? One of the major differences between the two, and the reason why, Black Lives Matter even became anything is because of the fact that when law enforcement committed these offenses, nobody was being held accountable. Do I need to say that? Do I need to remind you of that? For the vast majority of the audience, I'm sure not. But if for that 1%, hey, I want to wake you up this morning. What are you talking about? Do you not understand? Do you not understand? Like I said, you go to any neighborhood in America. I don't care if it's a black neighborhood or a white neighborhood, and you take out the hope. You take out the resources for good food. You create food deserts, right? You take out home ownership, right? You pump it with a lot of dope. You redline it in numerous ways, not just with banks, but in terms of political representation as well, that is diametrically opposed to the best interests of those people. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to get crime, period. I don't care who it is. So why is it always labeled for our neighborhoods and put on our backs? What's up with that? All right, let me go to the phones here. 513-873-7134. If you'd like to share your thoughts. I got an early call this morning. Let's take it and see what's going on. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Mr. Ivy. This is your West Side Connection Drop Squad 52 out here in California on the left coast, up bright and early, listening to the Nathan Ivy Show on Spreaker, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Mr. Ivy, great topic today, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Mr. Ivy, I would just like to offer my opinion on the whole, why do black people bring up black on black crime in the context of police brutality, racist white cops, killing young black men in this country. Now, I just want to pose this question to you, because you've already expressed your opinion, which was outstanding as usual. And I would just like to offer a scenario. Okay, Mr. Ivy, you have a few going on in the black community between some youngsters, and unfortunately, one of them shoots someone else. Okay, now because of the no snitching nature in some black communities, someone knows who this young man is, and the victim of that black on black crime, the family obviously is devastated. They want the police to do something. So someone goes to the police because they are fed up. They're kind of like Terry Crews. They're fed up with the black on black crime. So they call the police and they give a description of this young man who committed the black on black crime. So one night, this young man is hanging out at the local spot, and here come the police. Here come 5-0. They roll up. They got their description, but the young man, he runs. He runs from the police because he's scared for his life. And unfortunately, that young man dies at the hands of the police. And that police officer is white. So now everybody knows that black victim's name who died at the hands of the white police officer, but no one knows the name of the victim that young black man who just died. They don't know the name of his victim who just died, who also in his family 2 years previous, his brother also died in the same way. So, Mr. Ivy, this is what sometimes some people in the black community who say the phrase that Terry Crews and other black people say, quote, "What about black on black crime?" This is the scenario I just presented to you. I think that is the reason why some people express that, because of the national attention that the victim who died at the hands of the white police, the attention and the sympathy and the money that goes to him, but nothing goes to the person, another black person that young man killed. So that's all I got today, Mr. Ivy. I just want to put something else out there. Huh?
I don't understand, bro.
What? How you don't understand that scenario I just put forward?
It didn't really explain anything.
It actually just happened that way in Chicago over the weekend.
Right.
A murder suspect was in a car with 4 other brothers, and they fled from the police, and they got out and ran after they crashed into a tree, and 2 jumped out with guns, 2 jumped out without guns. The ones who didn't have the guns, they're still breathing. The other 2, they died. And it was the exact same scenario I just presented to you.
Well, no, I mean,
that's all I'm saying.
No, what I'm saying is I didn't understand from the jump when you start talking about the whole anti-snitching. See, I resist that about the black community. I resist this notion
but it does exist.
I resist that. Exist. I reject that. I resist it and reject it because when crime happens in the city of Cincinnati, we got Crime Stoppers. They get dozens, if not hundreds of phone calls from black people. Black people work with the police via Crime Stoppers in Cincinnati and other mechanisms throughout the country when there's a crime. They get tips, they get phone calls, they get all kinds of stuff from black folks. So I think that there was a segment, maybe there was a few rap artists, maybe it was a few folks that said, hey, what about anti-snitching? So now it becomes a sweeping generality about the whole community. And I just reject it. I don't think that's true at all.
Okay, but Mr. Ivy, I spoke to that in my scenario. I did say that someone turned that young man in. Okay,
I mean, but that was my point, though. It contradicted the way that you earlier sort of defined it, as if you got this anti-snitching culture.
Mr. Ivy, it was a scenario, sir.
I'm just saying, it's just a conversation.
It's true. You know it's true. You know how many unsolved murders there are in the city of Chicago? Their average is only like 30%.
Man, listen. You ever seen this television series? It's very popular. It's on Netflix right now. It's called Unsolved Murders. You ever see that before?
Yes.
White folks killing white folks. They've been killing white folks for.
That ain't what we talking.
It is what we talking about. Unsolved murders is not a phenomenon that's unique to black cities or neighborhoods. It happens across the board. You go watch that television series, you're going to see unsolved murders, white folks killing white folks, putting them in drums, burying them in shallow graves for 30, 40 years.
Okay, so again, Mr. Ivy, I presented the scenario, sir. I only mentioned one white person in my scenario, and that was the white killed. Why are you putting all these other issues into my statement?
I'm not. I'm responding to your statement point by point. I'm deconstructing. I'm breaking it down.
Okay. Oh, you breaking it down.
I'm breaking it down.
Before you break it down, sir.
Yeah.
Before you break it down, sir, why don't you talk about the full structure in whole in what I said about the scenario, which happens quite frequently in the black community.
Okay.
Except for the part about the police officer killing the black man.
Oh, no, that happens quite frequently as well. And then the police officer either is not charged or given some little...
But it's not about the numbers, Mr.
Oh, it really is about the numbers.
Not about the numbers.
No, it really is about the numbers. Because if the numbers of police officers that killed unarmed black people and then went to jail were higher, then Black Lives Matter wouldn't be out there. That's the whole point.
Mr. Ivy, again, sir, I presented a scenario, and you want to shoot me down for
I'm not trying to shoot you down, brother.
A scenario that happens quite often in the black community.
Well, I think that you missed. I didn't like the way you defined it, but okay. For the sake of conversation,
I know my reputation precedes.
It had nothing to do with your reputation. It was when you said this whole anti-snitching culture. I know plenty of black folks that work with the police.
Does it exist or not?
Does what exist?
No, I'm talking about the no snitching. Does it exist or not?
Yes, there's a small element of people that don't want to work with the police.
Numbers now. Hold
on. Just let me get it all out. There's a small element, I believe, of African Americans that don't want to work with the police. But now it opens up another door that we have to discuss, and that's the reason. And that is the reason why. And the reason why is because of the troubled and abusive history between police and the black community. A lot of black folks don't want to get involved because when they get involved, they become the subject of the investigation. Or you dealing with a racist cop or racist system that somehow makes you the problem. That's the reason why. It's not because black folks don't care about solving crimes. They just don't want to be the next victim.
I mean, hey, how can I disagree with what you just said? But I presented a scenario that explains why some black people, especially local, like you mentioned about the local community activists, local business owners who do not want to see their people in their community be victims of any type of crime. So when a 9 or 10-year-old girl gets murdered by a young man who's running the streets trying to get retaliation on another black man or young black man, Mr. Ivy, I'm just presenting a scenario that happens quite frequently in the neighborhood. And when that shooter of that little girl gets apprehended or arrested by the police and he resists and he dies, and Black Lives Matter, Al Sharpton all show up because the bullet that he died from came from a white police officer, some people in the black community, Mr. Ivy, and especially the victim of the little girl who was shot by that gangbanger, all they're saying is, my baby girls, her life matters too, America. That's all we saying.
Well, then just say that and leave it at that.
That's it.
But then say that and leave it at that. And don't fall into the whole what about black on black crime motif.
And I don't know why anybody's listening to him in the first place. He's a freaking actor, Mr. Ivy.
Who?
That's all he does is act.
Who, Terry Crews?
The dude, yes, Terry Crews. And if you don't believe, Mr. Ivy, that there are people out here taking advantage of social media to advance their careers, then again, you are not the Nathan Ivy that I know. Because all I'm telling you, Mr. Ivy, I just presented a scenario that is quite relevant and quite prevalent in the black community, especially in the city of Chicago. There's a lady in the city of Chicago. She puts these little memorials.
Yeah.
And they're like bricks. You've seen that, right?
I believe I know what you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about. And that's what I'm saying when Terry Crews makes a dumbass statement without putting it in context. But everybody's not as articulate as you are, Mr. Ivy. Everybody doesn't possess that skill of a graceful raconteur like you, Mr. Ivy. So great subject, great topic, and all it does again, Mr. Ivy, is just puts a spotlight on the bigger and wider black divide in America in 2020, thanks to social media. Shout out to Dr. Stella Emanuel. I can't believe what they've done to that black woman. But anyway, Drop Squad 52, dropping science to anyone who wants to catch it. Peace, be safe.
Appreciate it. He was out. I was like, I'm out of here, man. I ain't trying to have this conversation no more. Yeah, I'm sick of it. Let's end that right here, right now. And so here's the other thing. People that really care about the crime in the black community, they care about it 24/7, 365 days a year. It's not just a convenient refrain or retort to when the black community starts to criticize the actions of law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? The context matters. Like if you really care about crime in communities, for the people that's really out there, crime fighters, people that really cares about, empowerment of our neighborhoods, they're about that life every day, all day. It's not just after the community raises their voice because there's been an unarmed brother or sister that either comes up missing or dies in a cell or somehow dies in the commission of a crime or resisting arrest. You know what I'm saying? The context matters. I'm just telling you, for all those what about black on black crime people, I'm calling you out this morning. I'm calling you out. I want you to give me a call and explain this to me. And I want to break this down so we don't have to go through this nonsense anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm just telling you, for the folks out there about black empowerment and black equity and saving our communities and building separate communities, they're about that life every single day, January through December. For the whole Terry Crews, what about black on black crime people? They only bring it up when Black Lives Matter or some other black-led organization or black-focused organization or black family-focused organization starts complaining about law enforcement, which are civil servants, right, that we support with our tax dollars. That's another clear distinction between these two scenarios, right? It's different. But I want to get your thoughts about it. 513-873-7134. One more call before we take a quick break. And good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Oh, what's up, friend? What's up, pal?
Yeah,
welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's your man, Michael Snackson.
What up, Michael?
Listen, yeah. It's funny how you just went the civil servant route, but when the Gang of Five stuff was going on, it was the technology wasn't like that when his law was written. But I digress because that's not what I called about. I just,
I don't see the point. I don't see the point, but I understand. You're trying to settle some old scores and make some old points. Go ahead.
Old scores. There's no old score to settle. I'm just like, keeping you abreast of what you said in the past. I write down all your takes.
Right, and I'm holding you accountable for what you're saying today. And in that vein, so what you're saying is that you see a connection between police officers killing unarmed people and getting away with it to what happened with the so-called Gang of Five. That what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Can you explain that, please?
I said no. I'm not going to explain it. I said
I didn't think you would. I didn't think you would.
Listen, I said I don't see a connection. I said absolutely not.
Okay, great.
You're just too quick to speak.
Okay, great.
You know what I mean? Now, that's not what I called about, though. First of all, I want to address a chopper who's been around for a while, but wants to insult me after I fed him, Mr. Tony Huey. I thought that was kind of weak what you did in Facebook chopper stuff yesterday.
Who, me or Tony?
What you said. No, Tony Huey.
Oh, okay.
What you had said, considering you know, I held up my end of the bargain. You won a contest that I put in the friends group, and I held up my end of the bargain. I gave you an unpublished winning pick. Not only was it unpublished, none of my other fans or listeners saw it or heard it, but it won.
Huh?
I gave you a bag. What you mean, huh? You know what I do.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah. I mean, that's good. You gave him a great tip.
Right. Yeah, I gave him. It was a winner. And he come only to be insulted in Facebook by this guy.
Really? What did he say to you?
Oh, he said I was just being a contrarian just to do it or something like that. I'm like, now you're questioning my authenticity.
Okay.
When you
wait. He said you're being a contrarian in terms of you offering him this winning tip?
No. To your opinions.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday. So I'm like, no, he said I was just doing it just to do it, though.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, like, okay, you should know I'm authentic. You know what I'm saying? I fed you, brother. Don't insult me like that. Just, don't. That's some backstabbing, like, kind of sucker stuff. Thinking I wouldn't see it in the group.
Are your feelings hurt about it or something? Or
I'm pissed off. I
could tell.
Disgusted.
You disgusted.
Like, bro, I fed you.
No, you tried to feed him.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, whatever. The industry leaders. I ain't got a blue check on Twitter. The industry leaders, they follow me. That's how authentic I am. Barstool Sports. Guy has 1 million followers. He only follows 3,500. Who's one of those 3,500?
You are.
Fame Rothstein. How dare you insult me, dude?
I can't believe you said this, man. Go right ahead. You all in your feelings this morning.
I'm disgusted. Like, yeah, I'm like, dude, like, that's foul.
I mean, foul? I don't know if I would say it was foul.
I find it foul. Just because I put my hand on your thigh doesn't mean I'm trying to sexually assault you.
I think you're being hypocritical. Can I tell you how?
I don't think I am.
But can I give you my perspective? I ain't got to be right or wrong, but true or false? Tell me if I'm wrong about this in terms of the way that you present yourself, but you are 100% about the exercise of your First Amendment rights, even if people don't like it and even if people take it wrong. Is that true or false?
Oh, that's absolutely true.
Well, then you got to open the door for somebody else to be the same way then. And so don't take it personally.
Not somebody that I fed.
It don't matter if you fed him or not. It don't matter if you fed him or not. If you're somebody that's 100% about your First Amendment rights, and if people take it wrong as they fault, then you got to be able to be a bigger man and put yourself in that same position when somebody's saying something about you. Absolutely
incorrect.
Oh.
But let's move on.
Okay.
As the famous band caller likes to say. Terry Crews. He's obviously going through something. Something's wrong. He's just trying to get his coins or whatever. They told him to, say whatever. Somebody's controlling his messages. But if we're being honest, there's nothing wrong with that acronym. You just don't like that he did it. Because we did the same thing with the N-word. Never ignorant, getting goals accomplished.
He stole that from Tupac.
So he's flipping this. What'd you say?
He stole that from Pac.
Right. So that's all he's doing. He just flipped that. You trying to insult him? Okay. Much like we did with all the alt middle stuff. Remember they were calling us Diamond and Silk? And flipped the hell out of that. They stopped that real quick.
Nah, they weren't calling you Diamond and Silk. They was calling you Rhinestone and Burlap and
Yeah. No, they were saying we were the Diamond and Silk of the chop shop.
Right.
Flipped the hell out of that. And I noticed that guy still wants to put me to sleep with drugs, open my legs, grab my member, and cut it.
Who you talking about?
That guy who lives in the affluent suburb, but he always wants to act like he's angry.
You can't be angry if you live in the suburbs?
No, you can be. But he posted that again. I mean, who is he, Bill Cosby or Lorena Bobbitt? What's he trying to do here? Why is he so obsessed with putting me to sleep with drugs, grabbing my legs, grabbing my member, and cutting it? What's wrong with him?
He just following along with your flow, man. That's all. Y'all call yourself wolves. He's spayed and neutering wolves, and it's all internet. It's called the internet,
he wants
man.
To grab a man's member.
You think he means it literally? I don't.
How is he going to do it?
I don't think he means it literally, man. Listen, I think you and your member are safe.
I just think that the guy's strange. That's all I'm saying. Love him to death, but that's just like a strange hashtag.
Well, all you got to do is don't do what some of the Bill Cosby victims did do. Don't go to his house and accept no drinks and tea and whatever and coffee. You'll be fine.
Oh, wow, that's rape culture. I don't want to participate in this phone anymore. I don't want to participate anymore. I can't.
Oh, you got a limit, huh? Oh, you got a limit
now. Yes, I do. You're blaming those women.
I don't think so.
But yeah, Terry Crews. That's all he's done, man. I mean, it's just so corny and brazen that's what's upsetting you. But all he's done is flip that. I mean, I'll give him credit for the ingenuity.
Oh, you're going to give him credit for the ingenuity because he flipped the word coon by making this acronym, conquer our own negativity.
Yep,
okay.
Because if that's the platform he's working, that's the one he's riding. Like Glenn, that's the platform he's working. Putting men to sleep, grabbing their members and cutting it. So he's going to ride that out. You see what I'm saying? That's all Terry Crews is doing. And just realize what you're mad at. That's all. There's nothing wrong with what he did. We did the same thing with the N-word. That was kind of corny, I thought. Like,
yeah, this is corny too.
Got to go that far.
This is corny too.
Yeah.
You sitting around coming up with acronyms for the word coon? Come on, bro. And you don't got some scripts to read or something like that? There's not a party you can go to so another big time Hollywood white producer can grab your junk or something like that? I mean, come on, man. Go do something more productive.
Right. I agree on that level, No, you're right. But yeah, that's the only difference between Terry Crews and Tupac is that Tupac shot a couple cops. They're the same person. A complete asshole. But
I don't think they're the same person.
I'm sorry. I forgot. The kids are listening. But
yes,
listen,
they are.
It's been real.
It has.
Have fun.
So did
Tony
I.
Huey, you've been on the show for 4 years. Stop insulting me.
Oh, you being too sensitive. You take too many strong, opinions to be this sensitive about him saying that he thought that you was being a contrarian. It ain't that serious.
No, on purpose. That's the thing.
Oh.
Like, don't insult my character. Like this is me.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, on Facebook, you look great, buddy. I'm going to give you your props. You look like you lost about 30, 35 pounds.
I appreciate that, man. Every day, bro. Every day. Health is wealth.
Yes. So I'll holler at a future moon.
That's fame. All in his feelings. Now, when we come back, I want to continue this conversation if you're into it. All right. But there's a whole lot more I want to talk about. There's some local examples of black excellence that are happening. And plus, we're going to get a call from some folks that are starting something called the George Floyd Memorial Fund. Okay. That's coming up right after the break. So don't go anywhere. 513-873-7134 is my number. But please hold off. Like I said, I'm awaiting a phone call and we'll get into it on the other side. It's the Nathan Ivey Show, the last honest place in Cincinnati media. And we'll be right back.
Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson. Joe Biden's campaign has announced a series of steps designed to bridge the racial economic gaps in the country. He also promises to work toward a more diverse Federal Reserve Board that would help minorities access funds and economic development. More diversity in corporate America. Juul has named Teresa Sebastian to the e-cigarette makers board. Sebastian is the first black woman to become a board member at Juul. A new Census Bureau report finds the U.S. homeownership rate jumped in the second quarter to the highest level since 2008. It was just under 68%. The black homeownership rate came in at 47%. And Oprah is back in her talk show chair with the new Apple TV Plus series called The Oprah Conversation. The debut show premieres July 30th. The topic will focus on race. That's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council.
This is Zoe Wesson. There are a few times in life to make history. Hamilton County was founded 230 years ago, but has never elected a black county treasurer. It's time for change. Elect a proven, trusted, experienced candidate for Hamilton County Treasurer, Charlie Winburn. We know Charlie, and he knows us. Charlie Winburn was the former chairman of the Jobs and Growth Committee on Cincinnati City Council under the Honorable Democrat Mayor Mark Mallory. Winburn led the fight to keep 2,000 U.S. postal jobs in Cincinnati. He also fought for wage increases for thousands of city employees, especially our sanitation workers. Charlie Winburn will safeguard more than $1.4 billion in real estate taxes and will increase new home ownership and new jobs. On Tuesday, November 3rd, vote Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer. Let's make history together.
I am Charlie Winburn, and I'm asking you for your vote.
911, what is your emergency?
The kid shot himself.
All right, where's the wounds?
911, what's your emergency?
Please help. My son shot his brother. I don't know the...
Okay.
Every day, 8 kids and teens are unintentionally killed or injured by loaded and unlocked guns. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and End Family Fire.
Hello, I'm Charlie Winburn with Renew Community Church. It seems like the coronavirus came from nowhere. I have some good news that if you never quit and don't give up, out of nowhere, the way will be made for you and your family. Take your life back. Join Renew Community Church each Sunday, 11:45 a.m. on Facebook Live, facebook.com/CincyRenew. Rewrite your life while at home. Join Renew Community Church for the 12-week Rewrite.me series each Sunday on Facebook Live. Renew your life at home. Go to SundayConnectCircle.org for a free 12-week, 200-page PDF. Take your power back. Rewrite your life. Join Renew Community Church each Sunday at 11:45 a.m. on Facebook Live, facebook.com/CINCI-Renew. I am Charlie Winburn, and remember, out of nowhere, the way will be made for you and your family.
My mother was always very active and independent, and she was familiar with her neighborhood. But one day, she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. She wasn't even really sure where she was at.
It's important for you to talk to someone about it. I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, we'll figure it out.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
Hey, good morning, family. Welcome back. Currently 9:15 a.m. in the Queen City. And as always, my pleasure to be with you. Talking all things people, politics, and pleasure from the black perspective here in the greater Cincinnati area and beyond. I'm awaiting a guest. Some folks have put together the George Floyd Foundation and Fund, and based here in the city of Cincinnati. So please hold off your phone calls for a little bit so I can make sure I get our guest in this morning. But if you want to share your thoughts, you want to get your opinion in, you can please feel free to do so by shooting a comment. You can join the conversation on Facebook, or you can join the conversation on the Spreaker network as well. I'm on TuneIn, but I'll be honest with you, it has its own chat service, but I'm rarely as in rarely never in there. I'm usually in Spreaker and on Facebook. We're going to expand it to YouTube as well. If you're on YouTube, please follow my channel, Nathan Ivey EY. I need to get at least 10,000 followers so I can take it to the next level. So please, if you're on YouTube, please share. I'm going to do a lot more with that YouTube channel. Good morning to you. So this morning we've talked about Terry Crews. We can continue the conversation if you like to. But I want to add some other elements to the conversation as well this morning. Again, 513-873-7134. So William Barr is the U.S. Attorney General. He was appointed by current President Donald Trump, and he's been getting a lot of criticism because primarily the Democrats and even people in the media have been saying that he is 100% in the bag for Donald Trump. It's not about the Constitution. It's not about the American people. It's about one man and one man only, and that's the President, Donald Trump. So just yesterday, William Barr was called to Congress to answer a lot of questions. You got to understand that, you got the House of Representatives, and that's controlled by a majority of Democrats, and they're exercising their power. And I think this is checks and balances. This is the way the whole system was set up to work. But I want to play a little bit of this for you because I think it's quite interesting. So William Barr was asked a question directly as to whether he believed that the president had the power to change the date of the national election, right? And why are people asking these questions? They're asking these questions because the head of the Trump crime family, of course, is Donald Trump. We know he's corrupt. We know he's narcissistic and completely self-interested. And there's it's just so funny, man, because this never even happened under the Obama administration. Like some of the questions that people are asking about Donald Trump, they didn't even think about asking with Obama. One, because Obama was a man that, had a conscience and more intelligent, and I guess you could say was more polite about the rules. But then secondly, because if Obama, and this is my opinion, if President Obama had came out and had been making excuses and giving out signs that perhaps he wasn't going to leave office if he left, the media, politicians wouldn't have been asking the question, like, what if? Like right now is a big question, like, what if Donald Trump doesn't, he resists the election results? I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean, what if? Then you call the boys, the military, whoever else, and you drag his ass out of here. Same way they've been dragging those Black Lives Matter protests off the streets and put them in unmarked vans. That's what you do with a president that doesn't want to recognize the fact that he or she lost the election. Simple as that. I think it's fascinating. And there was a question that was asked that got to the heart of it. I want to play that for you. But as I said, I'm expecting a phone call and a guest. So let me go to the phones here and say good morning. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jennifer.
Hey, Jennifer. How you doing?
Cincinnati State.
Hey, Jennifer.
Good.
Dr. Jennifer Davis Bauman?
Yes.
Yes. Good to see you. And I'm say good to hear you. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here. I appreciate it as well.
Okay. Well, should I call you Dr. Jennifer, Dr. Davis Bauman? I like to respect accomplished Black folks.
Thank you. I usually just shorten my name since it's so long. The students and the individuals at school, they just call me Dr. D. Dr. D? Yes, please.
Okay, well, we'll go with Dr. D. Well, Dr. D, thanks for coming on. I know you're the organizer for the George Floyd Scholarship Project. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Well, tell us all about it. How did this idea start? And what are you trying to do with it? And how can the audience be a part of it?
Okay. Well, first, I was online reading a couple of articles, and a post came up from a university president. I think it was North Central University, and the president had announced a challenge to other schools to develop a scholarship, a George Floyd scholarship. And they were just talking about how we needed to put something in place that would memorialize George Floyd, and then also give community members an opportunity to get involved and do something constructive to kind of supplement some of the protests and some of the outrage, that has been going on. So I just was wondering, like, wow, what can we do here on a local level? And I had no idea what the process would look like. So I just started asking a few questions, and with the help of different members in the community and staff at Cincinnati State, we were able to get the scholarship established.
Okay. So tell us, what is that process like? What's the process to establish a scholarship fund?
Oh, it was crazy. Initially, I think people were a little bit nervous to get involved just because it was so political. And even though at Cincinnati State, I want to say the staff is rather diverse. So there's a nice group of minorities and others. So I was thinking there would be a huge interest, but I think people were a little bit nervous just with the sensitivity of the topic. So some people were quiet and didn't want to speak up. Other people were really, really vocal about it. But then when I asked for, a list of names and supporters and people to actually email the administration, there was a little bit of restraint. People weren't, willing to do that. And so I had to, kind of be, guided a little bit by talking to people like you, and then people also that have done similar projects, and just trying to figure out, where do I even get started? So just trying to get the idea going and asking a lot of questions and be open to rejection, basically, because there were a lot of no's and there were a lot of people that were just questioning, like, I don't know if we can do this, and I don't know what this would look like. And so just trying to push through, trying to stay positive.
And is it because of, again, the politics are just so hot right now? I mean, is it because of the name of the scholarship fund? Like George Floyd's name is, it's a hot button issue. It's a hot button issue. Like, I have a mask that was tailor-made for me, Black owned, mask by TaylorMade. And on the side of it reads Justice for George Floyd. And I recently went out to a grocery store. I went over to Whole Foods in Hyde Park, and it was interesting. Like, I didn't think anything of it, but it was interesting the kind of looks I was getting. And I was thinking, it's George Floyd. How could you not be in support of justice for George Floyd, right? I didn't really understand it at first, but I guess it's just everybody's different and there's a lightning rod. So you think if it was named something different, then you would have had more support, or is it just the politically charged times that we live in?
I think if it was named something different, it may have been some more support, but I also think that with the politics behind it, just like what you were saying, I had some questions initially about, do you just want to call it the Equity Scholarship, or do you just want to call it social justice, or you know what I mean? So I had some questions about changing the name. But I really wanted to push for the name to be George Floyd, because I didn't want that to get lost in the turmoil and all the decision making. And so there was just, and it's interesting because nobody would come out and say, no, we don't want to do this, or no, I'm not going to back you. But the resistance came in many different ways in terms of no response to emails, no response to calls. Getting the runaround, we'll talk to this person, then I would call that person and they would tell me to talk to someone else. So I just wanted to stay encouraged. And it was difficult to do that. But yes, it's here now though. So we made it.
Okay, great. I mean, I like to shout out people that's on the right path. I mean, who's supporting this? I mean, did you get like support from some of the local institutions here? If so, I like to put them out there and just acknowledge them.
Well, I've been in contact with a few different local organizations, but no confirmation in terms of, yes, they're going to back it or how they will back it. But I have a friend of mine that's no longer here in Cincinnati, but she is willing to use her nonprofit to help support the organization. And she's with the Equity Corporation. And she's housed in Florida, actually. So that's the first nonprofit that has gotten on board. But again, I've sent some outreach efforts to just local organizations. So I'm waiting to hear back. So I haven't heard any no's. So that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, right?
So one of the challenges is it does take a lot of time. Because I've been kind of working and emailing and calling and talking since the beginning of June. And as you know, it's almost August now. So it just takes time. You got to be patient.
Huh.
So I'm optimistic. And I'm still just waiting to hear back from a couple of people. And I'm grateful that you're, able to host me. And
for sure.
Get the word out as well.
Absolutely. Want to get the word out. So tell us more. So is this for students that attend Cincinnati State College? Is it open for students who attend any university? Who is eligible, and what does it take to be eligible? What are the requirements?
Okay, so this one is particularly just for Cincinnati State students. And the criteria is the students would need to have at least a 2.0 GPA. They would need to ask for a letter of recommendation. And then they would also need to write a response, and it can be up to 2 pages. And I have specific prompts that they would respond to, and they would just talk a little bit about their experience with bias and their experience with equity. And the scholarship is open to all students, all Cincinnati State students. And the reason for that is I didn't want it to be, like preaching to the choir, so to speak. So, yes, I wanted to support Black students, but I thought this was a time that non-Black students should respond to those essay prompts and critically think about some of the issues that we're facing.
Okay.
So I thought it was important to open it up to all students and make it a little bit more inclusive, since that's really what we're asking for and what we're trying to remind people about. Is about equity.
True.
And about, we all have a place and we all need to be respected. Okay.
Speaking with Dr. D, but Dr. Jennifer David Bauman, and she's the creator of the George Floyd Scholarship Fund. Dr. D, is it going to be up so that students going to college or school in the fall can apply? Are there funds available for the upcoming school year?
Yes, the application period will begin in November, and then the awards will go out in March. So it will be awarded to students beginning in the spring semester.
Okay.
So in March, they'll actually have the funds, and they can put that towards their tuition in the spring. And just depending on how much money the fund is able to have, that will determine the number of students and then the amount that the students will get. If we're able to raise $10,000 or more, then the scholarship will become an endowment, and then that means it will be available every year.
Right.
So
that was my next question.
Long-term. Right. That would be a long-term thing. So that's our ultimate goal. We want it to be something that's in place every year. We didn't want it to be like a fly-by-night. Oh, we're going to do it right now because it's popular. You know what I mean? We wanted it to have a little bit more of a long-term span.
Understood. Is there a minimum amount that, I know you don't know what the high end is going to be because, contribution is still coming in, but is there a minimum amount that, applicants can expect for next year?
We didn't want to give any less than $250 per student. So the minimum will be $250, but we're hoping to give more. But again, it's going to depend on how much is raised. Mm-hmm. But our estimate right now is a minimum of $250 per student.
And what's the website? If people are interested, again, you said it's going to kick off in November, so we're getting a heads up on it. So I would say all my listeners, If you know someone, make sure you write this information down and you get your application in first. What's the website where people can go and go through the process?
They can just go to cincinnatисtate.edu. And then there's a tab that says Giving at the top of the page, and they can click on Giving, and they'll see all the information in terms of being able to select the name of the scholarship that they want to give to, and then they would be able to type in their information. And there's no minimum. They can give however much they want to give, however much is comfortable for them.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that, donors can write off on their taxes later on? Are you aware of that?
Yes, they can write it off on their taxes. Now, there's some things to keep in mind with that. I want to say there's an amount that you have to give in order for it to count for your taxes. So if you want to talk more about that and learn some more details about that, if you contact Cincinnati State, the Office of Development, they will be able to give some details about that. And they can get to all of that through the cincinnati-state.edu.
Okay. Speaking with Dr. Jennifer David Bauman, do you have any planned events between now and November that are associated with the George Floyd Scholarship Fund at Cincinnati State? I mean, you do anything in the public just to get some marketing, some awareness, or just doing a series of interviews, or?
I wanted to do some more interviews, and I have a article with a national education website that should be coming out next week. So that'll give us a little bit more of a global, marketing. But locally, I'm not sure. It's really tough with the COVID and people not wanting to come out and not wanting to, run that risk of interacting with others. So that's tough. So a lot of things are going to have to be like virtual.
Right.
They're going to have to be online. So it's just gonna depend. It's gonna depend. We're still figuring out how to navigate this.
Okay.
So I guess we'll be doing more interviews and really just a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails.
Well, in the wake of George,
figure out the best way.
Sorry about that. I mean to cut you off. But in the wake of George Floyd's death and all of the social movement in the streets in this city and around the nation, what is Cincinnati State doing to join that fight? I mean, outside of this George Floyd Scholarship Fund, but are you aware of any activities or any initiatives that Cincinnati State is doing to raise awareness or to join the movement, so to speak?
Well, I know that typically for like the Black Family Reunion, I know they usually have representatives from Cincinnati State down there giving out information and trying to recruit. But I also know that there's something called the Black Male Initiative, and that's a program at Cincinnati State, and it just targets the education of Black males. So it targets trying to recruit them as well as trying to maintain having them in school, because one of the issues is we can get students, but we're not always able to keep the students. So I know those are two things that are ongoing, and they're trying to kind of build up a little bit at Cincinnati State. Other than that, I know that our president, Dr. Posey, I know that she is in contact with the media and has set out specific statements about our stance on diversity at Cincinnati State. So, just off the top of my head, that's all I can think of.
Oh, okay.
Right now.
I was just curious. Well, listen, I know you say you opened up to all races. That's great. I understand why. For me specifically, I mean, just understanding that, the highest student loan debt and burden coming out of college is Black females. We understand the inequity in terms of our households between Black wealth and white wealth. I'm 100% hoping that the Black students get it. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And I want to stay in contact with you so that as we get closer to November, then we can let our audience know so we can get first dibs and get our families in there first and get their applications in. I mean, whatever happens. That's just me personally, though. But I applaud your efforts, and thank you so much for coming on this morning and sharing this information with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Hey, absolutely. That's Dr. Jennifer David Bauman with the George Floyd Scholarship Fund. And I'll say it again. I ain't shy about it. I hope the Black folks get it. I hope the Black students get it. Call me whatever you want to call me. But if you look at the racial wealth gap in Cincinnati, we already know who's on the low end of that. If you look at the people who are coming out of college with the most student debt is Black females. So they need the help. That's just me. So I want to make sure we stay connected so that when they open that door, then we can be first. So your family can be first. If you know someone's going to Cincinnati State on their way, maybe they're already a Cincinnati State student, $250, I'll take it. I will take it. Every little bit helps. I know when I was in college, man, every little bit helped. Whether that's books or offsetting something else, it's all gravy to me. I'm with it 100%. But thank you, Dr. D. I appreciate it. Appreciate that time this morning. All right. So again, I'll tell you more about it as we get closer to November and keep it out there on social media and on the show as well. If you want to share your thoughts this morning, 513-873-7134. Now, right before we talk to Dr. Jennifer, I was going to play for you a clip of the U.S. Attorney General in a conversation that was had just yesterday. I think it's quite interesting. And I want you to check this out. It'll play here in just a second.
Integrity of the election, which is also something Congressman Lewis fought for. Jared Kushner implied that the president could move the election day. Can a sitting U.S. president move an election day?
Actually, I haven't looked into that question under the Constitution.
Well, 2 U.S. Code Section 7 says federal election day is the Tuesday after the first Monday in November. So if you take that as a correct statute, is there any executive action by a president?
I've never been asked the question before. I've never looked into it.
As Attorney General of the United States, do you believe that this 2020 presidential election will be rigged?
I have no reason to think it will be.
President Trump tweeted that the election will be rigged, but he also tweeted that when he was losing to Hillary Clinton, and he tweeted that a day after Fox showed that he was losing to Trump. But I don't want to be too political. Do you believe, as the Attorney General of the United States, that mail-in voting will lead to massive voter fraud?
I think there's a high risk that it will.
Do you ever vote by mail-in ballot?
Apparently I did once at least.
But you believe that other people voting by mail could lead to massive fraud?
No, what I've talked about, made very clear, is that I'm not talking about accommodations to people who have to be out of the state or have some particular need not to, inability to go and vote. What I'm talking about is the wholesale conversion of election to mail-in voting.
You do understand that African Americans disproportionately do not survive COVID-19 coronavirus. You are aware of that?
I didn't hear the question.
You are aware that African Americans, black people, disproportionately die from COVID-19 coronavirus, correct?
Yes, I think that's right.
And not that it would be the first time that African Americans would risk their lives to vote in this country to preserve its democracy. But the suggestion is that them having the ability to vote by mail would somehow lead to massive voter fraud. But I won't stick to that.
No, I didn't say that. I just state, I think, what is a reality, which is that if you have wholesale mail-in voting, it substantially increases the risk of fraud.
But it doesn't make it likely.
That's all I said.
So that we're...
So the person asking the questions was a rep from Louisiana. His name is Cedric Richmond. And that was William Barr talking a little bit of it. See, everybody's shut in right now. So there's a big conversation nationally about how we're going to vote. And the president has said, and he said this before he was elected, that he's not a big fan of it. He feels like it'll open the door for more election fraud. And that's the seriousness of the question, what he was trying to get to with William Barr. That's just a tip of the iceberg. I mean, it got real yesterday. It got real. I mean, there was some tough questions that was asked of him by primarily your Democrat congressmen and women. And you know how, you've seen those images of whether Trump was walking to a church for a photo op and it was a crackdown and pepper balls were used. Well, William Barr was questioned about that just yesterday. Here's what happened.
Against the murder of George Floyd and police brutality in Lafayette Park. Let us not be distracted by you or my GOP colleagues as to what these powerful and massive protests were actually about. They were about the persistent killing of black bodies by law enforcement, and finally, an awakening in America of the conscience of our country. And yet your response, Mr. Barr, was to direct federal officers to close in on the protesters and to use shields offensively as weapons, tear gas, pepper balls, irritants, explosive devices, batons, and horses to clear the area just so the president could get a photo op. So I do want to ask you, do you think that your response, do you think the response at Lafayette Square to tear gas, pepper spray, and beat protesters and injure American citizens who were just simply exercising their First Amendment rights was appropriate?
Well, first, it's my understanding that no tear gas was used on Monday, June 1st.
Mr. Barr, that is a semantic distinction that has been proven false by many fact checkers.
How is it semantic?
Do you think?
How is it semantic? Tear gas is a particular compound.
You talked about chemical irritants, and it has been proven false by reports. So just answer the question. Do you think that it was appropriate at Lafayette Park to pepper spray, tear gas, and beat protesters and injure American citizens?
Well, I don't accept your characterization of what happened, but as I explained, the effort there was...
Mr. Barr, I just asked for a yes or no, so let me just tell you, I'm starting to lose my temper. According to sworn testimony before the House Natural Resources Committee by Army National Guard officer Adam DeMarco, who was there, this was, quote, an unprovoked escalation and excessive use of force against peaceful protesters.
Well, I don't remember DeMarco as being...
Mr. Barr, excuse me,
involved
this is
in
my
any of the decision making.
Sir, the president told governors on a telephone call that the way to deal with the protesters of police brutality and systemic racism, like in Lafayette Square, is that, quote, you have to get much tougher. You have to dominate. If you don't dominate, you're wasting your time. These are terrorists. And he also talked about you on that call, sir. Here's what he said. He said, the Attorney General is here, Bill Barr, and we will activate Bill Barr and activate him strongly. Do you remember that call, Mr. Barr?
Yes, I do, but he wasn't talking about protesters. He was talking
Mr.
about
Barr,
rioters.
apparently the president believes that you can be activated to implement the president's agenda and dominate American people exercising First Amendment rights if they're protesting against him. But let's look at how you respond when the protesters are supporters of the president. On two separate occasions, after President Trump tweeted, "Liberate Michigan," to subvert stay-home orders to protect the public health of people in Michigan, protesters swarmed the Michigan Capitol carrying guns, some with swastikas, Confederate flags, and one even with a dark-haired doll with a noose around its neck. Are you aware that these protesters called for the governor to be lynched, shot, and beheaded?
No.
You're not aware of that?
I was not aware of it.
Major protests in Michigan. You're the Attorney General, and you didn't know that the protesters called for the governor to be lynched, shot, and beheaded. So obviously you couldn't be concerned about that.
Well, there are a lot of protests around the United States, and on June 1st, I was worried about the District of Columbia, which is federal.
In certain parts of the country, you're very aware of those, but when protesters with guns and swastikas and Confederate flags, excuse me, Mr. Barr, this is my time and I control it. You are aware of certain kinds of protesters, but in Michigan, when protesters carry guns and Confederate flags and swastikas and call for the governor of Michigan to be beheaded and shot and lynched, somehow you're not aware of that. Somehow you didn't know about it, so you didn't send federal agents in to do to the president's supporters what you did to the president's protesters. In fact, you didn't put pepper balls on those protesters. So the point I'm trying to make here, Mr. Barr, that I think is very important for the country to understand, is that there is a real discrepancy in how you react as the Attorney General, the top cop in this country, when white men with swastikas storm a government building with guns. There is no need for the president to, quote, activate you because they're getting the president's personal agenda done. But when black people and people of color protest police brutality, systemic racism, and the president's very own lack of response to those critical issues, then you forcibly remove them with armed federal officers, pepper bombs, because they are considered terrorists by the president. You take an aggressive approach to Black Lives Matter protests, but not to right-wing extremists threatening to lynch a governor if it's for the president's benefit. Did I get it right, Mr. Barr?
I have responsibility for the federal government, and the White House is the seat of the executive
Mr. Barr, let me
branch,
just make it clear. You are supposed to
Michigan
represent
authorities
the
can
people
handle,
of the United States of America, not violate people's First Amendment rights. You are supposed to uphold democracy and secure equal justice under the law, not violently dismantle certain protesters based on the president's personal agenda.
Gentlelady's time is expired.
Yes, her time has expired. She tried to hold his feet to the fire. What do you think about that? Did William Barr have a point? Did she have a point? What do you think this morning? 513-873-7134. So Black Lives Matter coming up in conversations in yesterday's congressional conversation hearings, testimony with the Attorney General. And folks are trying to hold his feet to the fire and hold him accountable to what they're doing. That's an interesting point. Like she said, when it's white guys that are in support of Trump's agenda talking about beheading people in Michigan, threatening black lawmakers, it's all gravy. It's all good. But you get a few Black Lives Matter supporters out there, they fighting for equity, policy, tangibles. They're tired of seeing black folks getting killed in the streets and nobody's held accountable. Oh, we got to crack down. Where's the pepper balls? We got to crack some heads. It's interesting, the point she was trying to make there. What do you think? 513-873-7134. Let me go straight to the phones here. Good morning to you. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, Nathan, it's Nicole. How you doing?
Hey, Nicole. Good morning.
Good morning. Great show, as always.
Thank you.
I watched that hearing yesterday as well, and I could not break away from it. There was a lot of good parts in there, in particular when someone was revealing how they're using some sort of surveillance, the federal agents, where they can literally pick up people's conversations, like word by word. And they were explaining how, you may be looking for particular people that are bad actors within the protest. But what you're also picking up is, people who are not a part of that, picking up people in their homes in that conversation. And that's a violation to our privacy. And I really wish they had went further into that, and just for people to understand that, when these things are occurring, the conversations you have and everything else, they have the type of technology to intercept all of that and have it for their own disposal, which is just feel like a total violation, really big brother in these scenarios. But I wanted to call about your discussion earlier about the black on black crime.
Yeah.
It's like fingernails on a chalkboard to me. When I see it, Black Lives Matter, why are we killing each other? I expect white people who don't want to address systematic racism and law enforcement to say it, but when black people adopt that rhetoric, I'm sorely disappointed. The president and all of his right-wing talking heads, they use that. They use our trauma for black families in these war zone neighborhoods as poster children to supposedly highlight our failures of the black community and to have, to show that our lack of civility, I guess, in our neighborhood, and use it as an added affirmation that we must be inherently violent. When they mention multiple shootings in Chicago and babies being killed in the crossfires, it's meant to be like a browbeat and a finger wag to black people to essentially say, you have no right to complain about our good, wholesome officers killing you when you're killing each other. So what are you complaining about? That's what they're essentially saying. They don't care to do anything about the violence. It's meant to really take the wind out of the movement. So, our good friend DB, and I'm not talking about Danielle Belly. I got a lot of DB friends, but Derek Bozeman, Nathan, I was listening to his show, and he had said something profound. He said something to the effect that people say the grass is greener on the other side. Then he said, actually, the grass is greener where you water it. We water what we want to grow and thrive. We deprive water to things we don't care about that will eventually starve and die. And so I think about cities like Chicago, Detroit, even, black neighborhoods here in Cincinnati that have been deprived of resources to grow and be vibrant communities for decades. And it's because they want us to starve and die. So when you have schools, lack of transportation, no economic opportunities, food deserts, you name it, those are cities and state-created conditions that creates more violence and more crime. So to me, if Trump and others really cared about black-on-black crime, supposedly black-on-black crime, which I hate that even more because that's like the automatic assumption that the perpetrator is black without any evidence or to substantiate that from the get. I mean, the likelihood is possible that it is, but just to say that without any notion of that being a matter of fact is racist in itself. Because, like you said, we don't say white on white crime. We give an opportunity for the facts and everything to present itself. If you have a suspect, okay, the suspect is whatever color, shade, blah blah blah, and then you know for a matter of fact who and what you are looking for. But anytime there's a shooting, it's just this automatic assumption of it has to be somebody black. But anyway, I digress. If people like Trump and others, they really care, they would make those resources, investments in those communities, and not deflect from what the real conversation is about as it relates to accountability against law enforcement that take the lives of African American men, women, and children. And today is John Crawford's first birthday. And I want everybody to, of course, remember that his father and family decided to, recognize that where he stays in Tennessee. But the event where they're at the Beaver Creek Walmart, that's August the 5th. I got the time. It's from 6 p.m. to 7. And but he said to be there early, like 5:30 or whatnot. If you plan on being there. So this is at the Beaver Creek Walmart, 3360 Chesapeake Boulevard, Beaver Creek, Ohio.
Okay.
And that's Wednesday, August the 5th, from 6 p.m. to 7. And he would love for everyone who cares to be there to be there. And I also was trying to get him to do an interview with you today. He's actually doing an interview right now, but he said anytime, can schedule it tomorrow, whenever you want to talk to him.
Let's do that for tomorrow.
He's available.
Let's do it for tomorrow.
Okay. I'll get y'all hooked up.
Okay.
And,
appreciate it.
You can hear from him. All right. Take it easy.
Yep. Thank you so much. Yeah, John Crawford, man, that's the brother who was in the Beaver Creek Walmart. He was walking around and he grabbed a weapon which they sell there. I believe it was a BB gun. And then Ronald Ritchie, white male, made a knowingly reckless and biased phone call that, in my opinion, directly led to the environment that killed or that led to the murder of the homicide, should I say, of John Crawford. Police rolled up after getting a call that a black man was pointing a gun at folks. Never happened. And Ronald Ritchie was never brought to justice. And that was in my mind when I started a petition to push Cincinnati to create a law and to have some serious criminal and civil penalties, right? Civil recourse if people like Ronald Ritchie want to make those knowingly biased or reckless phone calls against black folks, brown folks, or anybody. And I think we also need something like that in the state of Ohio, which I am working with as well to see if we can get this done, because we need protections. And everybody's all about law and order to make sure the human beings do the right thing. Let's do the same thing when it comes to preventing and also giving some serious consequences to these biased phone calls. I can play it for you now. Again, all it's going to do is tick me off. You know what I'm saying? Every time I even think about that situation, because that brother didn't have to die. And I've spoken with his father once before, strong black man who has a history working with law enforcement. You know, worked in law enforcement, with law enforcement, in conjunction with law enforcement for many, many years. And then his son becomes a victim to something like this. So just a really, really terrible situation right there. And the heart goes out for the family. So I do plan on being there, and I'll report back on August the 5th and let you know what's going on and report it back on social media for the folks that can't get out there. I think it was just terrible what happened. Never had to happen. Another woman was so afraid that she had a heart attack in the parking lot. But yet Ronald Ritchie, I'll never forget that name. It's very easy to remember. Ronald Ritchie was the white male that made that prank phone call. He's walking around the state of Ohio right now. Another George Zimmerman type, in my opinion, but that's just me. 513-873-7134. Let me go to your chat this morning. Let me jump straight into the chop shop and see what's chopping. Let me see here. I see Klumazik writes, when Sheila said she got her degree from a medical school in the scammer capital of the world, I started watching the video. Drop writes, if black people are disproportionately dying from COVID, what do you have to lose? What? What? Bunky writes, black folks will get it first. Hopefully so. Talking about that George Floyd scholarship fund. Mm-hmm. Ray writes, Nathan, correct. White folks do it all the time. Why folks think we always with the crumbs? Because those that know tell their family and friends. The white woman and the crumbs are left. Yeah, I'm just telling everybody about it. So you know about the George Floyd fund. So if you want to donate, you can. I think it's very admirable. And then number two, if you want to apply for funds, if you know someone who's going to Cincinnati State, I'll take $250. I mean, you got to pile it on, huh? Pile it on, whatever it takes to get our the future through college as much as debt free as they can possibly be. Right? Again, the last numbers I read, the demographic with the highest college debt leaving college are black females. And we already know that going into college, there's a huge wealth disparity. In the city of Cincinnati, it's about $35,000. You know what the difference is in $35,000? The ability to pay for your kids to go to college and not hit them with so much student loan debt. That's what the difference is. It makes every bit of difference. There's a big difference between when you can go to college and just be a student and you juggling 14 jobs and taking out loans. It's a whole big difference. It's a whole different stress level. I did the latter. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different stress level. Any parent that went to college and you have a child, you know, what you hope is to be in a position to help your kid go to college so they don't have to struggle the same way you do. So $250 here, $250 there, $500 here, $100 there, $20 there. It all adds up, man, because going to college is very expensive. It's amazing that the route to being a productive citizen is paved with a lot of debt. With a lot of debt. Good morning to you. Sister V writes, William Barr needs a tissue so he can wipe the brown off his nose. Absolutely. So much. I got another clip in which Eric Swalwell, I believe it is. He was actually a Democrat candidate for president, white male Democrat. He jumped out early on, just didn't have the mojo. But he put William Barr in a crucible, so to speak. I mean, he really backed him into a corner in terms of some of his questioning as it related to Roger Stone. And I thought it was quite interesting. I've got the clip for you. It's about 5 minutes, so I don't know if I get a chance to get it this morning. I've got a call on the line. Your calls and your text messages are my preference and priority. But if not today, then I'll play it for you tomorrow. Let's go to the phones. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Nate.
Hey, what's going on?
What's going on, man?
I'm doing great. Welcome.
Nate, I'm sitting here, man. You know, I'm enjoying a rare off day in the middle of the week. So I'm looking at Fool Aid right now, and he's about to, get on the helicopter, and he's talking to the press. And he just recently did a interview with the guy from Axios. I don't know if you talked about that or even heard about it, but they, specifically asked him about the Russian bounty and the Taliban connection. And did he talk to Vladimir Putin? He just talked to Vladimir, old Vlad, about a couple of days ago. Nate, he didn't even talk to the man about it. Matter of fact, Nate, he's saying that it's fake news that the Russians and the Taliban had some type of bounty on American troops. I say all that to say this, Nate. The last couple of weeks, we've been talking about the cognitive test, man, dog, woman, cat. Remember when we talked about that and how happy he was that he passed it? He passed a freaking bar.
Right.
I say that to say this, Nate, because I don't know if you heard it or not, but Joe Biden called Donald Trump the first racist president in history. Isn't that enough to change your opinion, Nate? They don't know if you heard it or not, but Donald Trump said yesterday that everything's just going fine and that the virus will disappear and that Florida is doing very well right about now. But Nate, I don't know if you heard it or not, but Joe Biden said that Donald Trump's the first racist president, and, you know, he seemed kind of shaky. Nate, I don't know if you heard this or not, but Donald Trump said that the Black Lives Matter protesters are really anarchists and Marxists. And that he plans on sending police officers into other cities. But, Joe Biden said that Donald Trump is the first racist president in American history. You know, that's kind of kooky, Nate. I don't know what he's going to do. Nate, they got to nominate a black woman VP, Nate. Oh, by the way, Nate, how's that virus going for you and the American people? Do you get where I'm coming from, Nate?
Yeah, you're piggybacking off a conversation we had yesterday with Black Russia, correct?
And you being a professional, I hate to throw a little slight drop on you, but you being a professional and being nonpartisan as you are, and letting everybody get their clothes off, you didn't challenge it. But I'm sitting there thinking, Nate,
I agree with what he was saying. I agree with him, Mason. No, I agree with Black Russia yesterday when he was making the point that it was tone deaf. And for Joe Biden to say that Trump was the first black president, I agree with that.
Okay, I see your point, but again, I think calling the current president racist flat out, which before like 2016, that really wasn't the norm. Can we agree on that?
Say one more time. I missed it.
I said for a presidential candidate to call the current president a openly racist person, that wasn't the norm up until 2016. It was kind of like, let's put it this way, Nate. Before, it wasn't okay to say you could be a POW. I don't like POWs because you got caught, and I don't like people that got caught. You didn't say that before 2016. You get my point?
Yeah, I get your point.
Okay, I get your point, but again, after 100 and how many thousand people's dead, Nate, is that really going to be the point, something that's going to sway your vote, considering what's on the complete other side again, making a complete fool of himself? Nate, yesterday you talked to old Drop. Remember he was talking about William Barr and how he's going to have all this explosive new news to come out? Mm-hmm. The only explosive new news is that he got exposed yesterday. Am I right or wrong?
Pretty much he got exposed, yeah. Especially by Eric Swalwell.
Yeah, Eric Swalwell. And by the way, congratulations. I think it's Kamala Jayapal. But what she said, that was a flow that can fit in the chop shop. When she talked about what happened up in Wisconsin and the double standard in response to Black Lives Matter protesters and guys showing up with swastikas and talking about lynching and AR-15. Because if you remember, Nate, they hung Governor Brashear over Kentucky in effigy, in front of his house, I think?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. They certainly did.
Let me ask you, Nate, do you have any comments from black Republican congressmen from yesterday? Oh, that's right. They don't have any. Think about it, Nate. Nate, how many times have I called in here, I don't know, semi-caping for Donald Trump like I'm trying to be Captain Save-A-Hole to the Republican Party? Pardon my French. It don't happen. But you see how black conservatives and Republicans love to call in and talk about who Joe Biden should nominate for the VP, what they should do, and how they feel slightly offended in they Ralph Tresvant feeling because Joe Biden called Donald Trump the first racist president. You see where I'm going, Nate, with all this?
I hear you.
Oh, and by the way, in case you missed it, at the very end of Trump's call, and I posted it in the Friends of the Nathan Ivy Show in the Facebook page, but he said, shout out to Stella Emanuel. You know who Stella Emanuel is, don't you know?
Now, who is she?
The black lady in the doing the hydroxychloroquine news conferences. You haven't seen that? It's on the.
Yeah.
Hey, she's a snake oil. Yeah.
Yeah. She said she's got a cure for the coronavirus.
Yeah. She's a Tim Scott of hydroxychloroquine. She's a drop up from Nigeria. They threw that woman out there like, go out there, black woman.
In Houston, Texas.
And then drop trying to shout off the chop shop, mate, like she's like the freaking Dr. Fauci. You knew of hydroxychloroquine. Had all the doctors behind him. You see what happened with Twitter and Facebook and I forget, I don't know, Instagram they banned the video, Nate.
For good reason.
Oh, but Nate, Joe Biden said Donald Trump's the first racist president in the world. Nate, you remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago when Donald Trump threw out the whole white power video? Remember when he tweeted that out and there was a big uproar about it?
Mm-hmm.
Remember what Drop said? Donald Trump don't know nothing about Twitter. Remember he said that, remember?
Right, he sure did. He don't know how Twitter works, right?
Yeah, he don't know how Twitter works. You remember that, right?
I do remember, yeah.
Isn't it amazing, Dave? Oh, you know I'm having a good time today, man. And by the way, he's on MSNBC right now. He's still talking. He's talking about more troops headed into other cities. Oh, and by the way, Nate, me and a friend were talking about this yesterday. You do know that there's a big old difference between brothers in Portland and protesting and brothers in Chirac and protesting, and you're going to send in federal troops? What's going to happen, Nate?
They're going to get exactly what they're looking for. Explosions,
exactly
violence, divisiveness, exactly what they're looking for.
And he knows that, Nate. Let me also say this, going back to a previous conversation. We were talking about the no snitch culture. Who was the guy that was on Fox News talking about flippers? Remember, people just flip on you, and I can't stand flippers. That's like the white conservative Republican version of what, snitching?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not mistaken, Nate, the thin blue line that was all before snitching came up, right? That was long before hip hop, right?
Way before hip hop.
Way before hip hop. But it's funny how people internalize again the negative and somehow attribute it to black people.
Yep.
And ironic, when you started off with talking about Terry Crews, your first two callers were dropping Fame. Fame all in. He all Elder Barge this morning. He in his film. He passed Ralph Tresvant. I mean, come on, dude. And if you don't remember the phrase "spay and neuter all pets," where'd that come from? If you're old school enough, you remember Bob Barker used to say it at the end of every Princess Right episode. Remember that, Nate?
Yep, he sure did. You jogged my memory
on
that.
We all off on some, closet gay stuff. Isn't that ironic? Bay Carew. Baby, come on, man. You and your boy, he called in yesterday talking about Joe Biden. Nate, I remember when there was like a little breakup, between the little off-middle mental guys. You remember when his boy got framed, by the garbage can lid in the courthouse bulletin board and went up to the fourth floor. That's when, Fame, recruited Drop and your boy up there in New York. Fake BDP looking type dude.
Oh my God. You're going to get the rap of the alt-middle with this. You know that, don't you? Just get ready for it.
Nate, listen. Man, I'm built for this. I never had to be bad. My mama raised me mad. You know what it is. I'm like, what I say, Keith Murray, you call my name and I come running, gunning. I grew up on Scarface, man. You already know, Nate.
Okay. Just want to give you a little bit of a warning.
I bought my chopper and my hard hat. This stuff messed up to show a brother what a war at. That's exactly how it is. But Nate, I had to get that off my chest, man. Like I said, I'm on today. So you can expect flows coming from everywhere. Like I said, these flows rated east for everybody. I'm out, Nate. And hopefully in the end, they getting what I'm saying, you sissies.
Appreciate it. I just go with the flows. You know what I'm saying? I create the platform and people express themselves the way they want to express themselves. It is what it is. All right, I'm on Facebook here, and I do not want to ignore my Facebook family. I'm going to read some comments, try to get through most of them. Take a quick break and come back, and then we'll wrap up the show. Okay, sound good? Brian writes, "Good morning, Nate." Anthony writes, "Morning, Chop Shop." Kareem writes, "Good morning." She writes, "Morning, Chop Shop crew. Good morning to you." Brenda writes, "Good morning." You may have seen these on the screen before. Cleopatra Jones writes, "Good morning." I'm sorry, she writes, "Grand Risings, Choppers and Royal Family." Same to you. Tanya's in the house. She writes, "Good morning, all." Daryl writes, "Hey, Nate, what's up?" Mason Mahler, a.k.a. Glenn writes, or should I say Glenn, a.k.a. Mason Mahler writes, "Morning, Nate in the Facebook Choppers. Hashtag what up?" We just heard from him. I can just imagine the calls tomorrow. Brian writes, "Good morning, Nate." Vince writes, "Good morning, brother man. Good morning, everybody." Anthony writes, "Political theater. Hashtag Orange 45 is even disregarding Supreme Court rulings on DACA. Seems that all checks and balances have out the window now." I did see a video of the president bellyaching about how Dr. Fauci has a better approval rate than he does. People don't like me. We'll give them something to like. Essence, right? I mean, your own wife don't like you. Why would the American people like you? Essence writes, "Good morning, Choppers." I don't think that's a stretch. Anthony writes, "Terry got some serious issues." Yeah, we opened the show talking about Terry Crews and his tweet this morning. And any brother that or sister that thinks this makes sense, I got a problem with you. Any brother, sister out here talking about what about black on black crime in this moment, you just need to be educated. So I gave you a little bit of an education this morning as to why we need to stop saying that. You know what I'm saying? Stop using black on black crime. And you know what? It just jogged the memory. Like people use what about blacks killing blacks as a way to deflect attention away from police brutality. And, you know, it's almost as if they're implying that one issue makes the other more acceptable. I just want to make sure that you understand that what you're saying. Like if you want these black folks out here talking about what about black on black crime, when black folks are talking about police brutality, you are unwittingly, but you're implying that because one thing has happened, it's okay for another thing to happen. So like because crime happens in black neighborhoods and black people become the victim of crime to other black people, then it's okay for armed police officers to brutalize you, murder you, and then not be held accountable whatsoever. I just want to make sure you understand what you're communicating. I want to make sure you get that out this morning because it don't make no damn sense to me. I don't understand these folks. And this whole anti-snitching thing, it's just amazing how everybody's allowed to keep their mouth closed except black people. Like, I hope that the police take that same attitude to anti-snitching, right? There's no more prevalent example of the no snitching policy than inside the police department. Than inside the various police departments across the country. They don't snitch on one another. They can see one another doing the most brutal things ever to other human beings, and they don't say a word about it. But we, as in black people that have a long, troubled, traumatized, trauma-filled relationship with police, are supposed to feel so free to just tell these officers whatever, whenever, as if we don't have our eye on history and we don't understand how it works. I'm telling you, in my opinion, this is my opinion. The reason why if in fact this is true, because I even resist this. When a crime happens, Crime Stoppers in Cincinnati gets all kind of phone calls and tips from black people. But let's just follow the conversation out. If in fact there are people that feel that way, like I don't want to work with the police, it's the police's fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. A lot of folks don't want to get involved when police are involved because they end up being the focus. Now they want to investigate you. What I smell? Is that marijuana? What's in your house? Can we come inside? Do you mind? Why you got a problem with it? Why you acting nervous? Nobody wants to be involved with that. Because we know how the game goes. You go down there trying to be a good guy, you end up in lockup. You know what I'm saying? They end up asking you, what's in that bag over there? Where you coming from? Got your ID? Nobody wants to deal with that. And, you know, it's hard to trust members of law enforcement depending on your community because of the history of the way they act in your neighborhoods. And we just look at the history books. I mean, do I need to say more? Just look at the history books. That's why. But that doesn't explain why members of law enforcement don't drop a dime when they see somebody brutalizing somebody or they see something wrong. But see, you know, it ain't just law enforcement. That's the way it is everywhere. You know, you go to our schools. There are people that see teachers and administrators doing all kind of crazy stuff to to students and parents. They don't say a word. They ain't got nothing to say. You could take that to almost any business. I mean, that's just the way human beings are. It's like, you know what? I need this paycheck. It's like, Karen's not so bad. She just had a bad day. You know what? Darren's not so bad. He just had a bad day. Everybody make excuses for the people that they know. You know what I'm saying? It just goes, that's just the way it is. You know, we can take the example away from law enforcement. You can just name it. That's just the way it works. It's like, Karen, why'd you do that? Oh, okay, I understand. Because at the end of the day, most people don't give a damn unless there's them that's in the hot seat. That's just how the world works. You know what I'm saying? Most people don't care unless it's them. When it's them, oh, call Al Sharpton. Oh, where's the popo? Oh, to call the media. But when it's somebody else, it's kind of like, not my problem. Right? Tell me when I'm wrong. Stop me when I'm wrong. That's just the way the world works. But with black folks, somehow we are supposed to be just running in with the information and dropping off the surveillance tapes, and we supposed to do what everybody else don't do. And you got Trump, who through tweets and speeches has openly espoused his support for people that don't work with law enforcement when they in law enforcement is investigating him. So it's all good. It's all good. On the federal level, law enforcement, the schools, wherever else. But black folks have an anti-snitching policy. Man, if you don't get that nonsense out of here, you're talking to intelligent black folks. We ain't on that. We know better than that. Nobody snitches, quite honestly, unless, they're just extraordinary people. In a lot of cases, people see stuff going down in our prisons. We just saw this sheriff deputy who was fired. But just think about the environment he must have been in, where he felt comfortable to kick an unarmed man whose hands was behind his back in the head. What other brutal things have happened at the Hamilton County Sheriff's, or I'm sorry, down to the Justice Center? What other brutal things have happened? We had Charmaine McGuffey on. She's running for Hamilton County Sheriff, right? She talked about how even when she was there, she saw kind of stuff. And when she spoke out about it, guess what happened? Oop, we got a problem now. That's the way the world works. Unfortunately. Very, very sad. Terrence writes, good morning, Choppers. Stay safe, stay healthy. Absolutely. Again, September the 5th. September the 5th is the first Saturday in September. All right. If you're interested in a tactical training course, you must have at least your CCW. I've already passed that. And we're asking you to bring your own rounds, your own ammunition, if possible. We're going out to the outdoor range and we're going to get tactical. I want you to be proficient. The charge, or should I say the cost, is $100, which is a reduced price, especially for this group. And if you're interested, I'm going to put some information out today. It'll be on my Facebook page. I'll be circulating it tomorrow and throughout the rest of the weeks as we lead up to it. I'm hopefully that we can get our number be about a week ahead of time. That way they know what to expect and can prepare. And Brother Forte is going to try to secure some ammunition for us, and you can purchase it from him if you don't know where to go or you don't have ammunition yourself. So I want to make sure I put that out there. Essence writes, the majority of crimes against black are indeed committed by blacks, but the majority, where are we at here? But the majority of white crimes are committed by white folks. That's what she's trying to say, and I agree with that. But again, we only focus on black folks. And that's only because people throw that up like, oh, when they start talking about police accountability and brutality, just say this. And then you got black folks like Terry Crews and others. Every city has a Terry Crews. Every city has these brothers and sisters talking about what about black on black crime, right? They run them out there to run interference to try to stall the advancement, to stall the movement, or to distract and deflect from where the conversation is going. And we see right through it. Let's go to the phones. We got Brother Forte on the line. Hey, Brother Forte, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Nate and the Choppers.
Hey, good morning to you, brother. What's going on?
Listen, I wanted to call you a little bit earlier, man. In general, any of our shooters who have cartridges, who have rounds, they definitely need to bring them. And they need to start pursuing them any way they can. It don't make no difference what caliber weapon that you bring. It could be a 9mm, 380, 38, whatever. In order for this course to be very beneficial, we all gonna need a couple hundred rounds or more, because it's gonna be a lot of tactics, a lot of drawing from the holster, drawing from your purse, your pocket, however you carry your weapon. We're gonna work on techniques for you to get that weapon out under duress and save yourself. Prayerfully, you're never gonna need these skills, but I want you to understand that covert shut down the ammunition manufacturers for probably 9 or 10 weeks. So right now they're so behind on ammunition it's unbelievable because obviously the military get the first dibs at the ammunition, then law enforcement, and after that it's your major stores, you know, your Bass Pros, your Cabela's, your Rural Kings. You have to really go into the store and just be lucky enough to catch them when they put it on the shelf. You know, I mean, it's incredible. I want this to be beneficial for all of us. Even the classes that we're teaching now, you know, Joe and I are anti-22. You know that from the conversation we had with the class you was in. But it is instructors training people with 22s now. It was always cheaper instructors who did it. The quality instructors never mess with 22s unless you had arthritis or carpal tunnel, you know, some health reason why you couldn't use a heavier caliber weapon. But it's reaching the point now, I'm talking to instructors, including instructors in multi-million-dollar facilities, they're using 22s now. Most people don't have a 22 handgun, you know, to shoot 22 long rifles. But, you know, Joe and I are investing in those type of things now because obviously we're going to need them. The last classes we taught, everybody's still shooting 9mm, but even our supply is starting to dwindle. And, you know, just want people to know that, you know, we got 5 weeks to work on this. But people who have access to rounds, please get them. You know, my shooters know what I'm talking about. You got some people got a few hundred, maybe 1,000 rounds in their house. Some people barely got enough to defend themselves with a couple magazines. And like you telling people, we do want to bring a holster. They need a CCW permit. You know, bring the light lunch, bring you some refreshments. The only way we won't be shooting is if lightning is in the air. And prayerfully lightning will pass. That means we'll just sit, you know, get out of the elements. So this is that course. They used to tell us in the police academy, you can't pick the day you're going to get in a gunfight. It can't be 70 or 80 degrees and all of a sudden it's a beautiful day to get into a shooting. It could be 0, it could be rain. So I just want, you know, outside shooters to understand what I'm talking about. And I want to hit on one topic before we get off of here. 2 days ago, you talked about the brother in Walmart with the bike.
Yeah.
The man had a major lawsuit. After he said what he had to say 2 or 3 times, put your hands behind your back and get in the freaking car. He worked against himself to the point where he still may be compensated, but as far as they're concerned, he resisted a lawful arrest, and that's what the judge is going to say to him. And I think you said it in your conversation, man. I was so upset watching that because he just couldn't calm himself down and say, you know, start counting $100,000. Okay, $100,000 for this, $100,000 for that. He couldn't do it. You know, he was upset. And he had a right to be upset, but he didn't use any common sense. You know, if I had a 3-minute conversation with him, I'd say, look here, dude, you let them know you had a receipt. You didn't do anything wrong. You had a barbecue Becky or Karen situation with the employee. That's your first part of the lawsuit right there. The employee who called the police. Walmart got to be held accountable. Now, if it's ever going to be a major boycott with black people, it may be Walmart. Because, you know, we don't even want to talk about, what is that, Greene County, Ohio, where our brother got killed up there in the damn Walmart.
Beaver Creek, yep.
You know, yeah. So I don't know, man. It's just heartbreaking to see that man, you know, just go through all that. They tased him, they wrapped him to the ground. It's just ridiculous, man.
And they tased him close up. I mean, he like put it on his skin.
Yeah.
That's not the way you use a taser.
They did what you call a dry stun on him. They were so close, they couldn't make the wires come all the way out. So they literally pulled the trigger while it was touching it. And that's not as effective as when the wires hit you. Believe me when I tell you that. That just hurt. The wires lock your muscles. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yep. 100%.
But anyway, brother, listen. The choppers is on it, man. These conversations are unbelievable that we have on this network with you. You know. And like you say, whether you left wing, right wing, in the middle, it don't make no difference. Everybody's opinion is valuable, you know, and we can all learn from each other.
Yep, absolutely.
So, you know, it's incredible, Nate. But like I said, man, looking forward to it. But this couldn't be a worse time, you know, considering that the big manufacturers, they telling us, man, that Bass Pro buy these things hundreds of thousands at a time. and they gone within an hour of them putting them on the shelf around the country.
Wow.
You know. Because what happens when I go to a store and I see 9mm, they may say, Mr. Forte, you can't have the 4 boxes of 50. Well, what I do is I call everybody I know. You know, get the Bass Pro. You know, get the Cabela's. Get to wherever. And getting back to Walmart, they were the number 1 seller of ammunition in the country, you know, until they stopped selling it. So we lost a major source when they sort of pumped out. They still sell alcohol and tobacco and sugar, but they wouldn't sell ammunition anymore, if you get my drift. If you're health conscious, then you got to get rid of everything that's unhealthy.
Yep.
I know I'm talking to, you know, I'm talking in the wind, but you feeling me on that, right?
Well, I feel you, especially about that sugar. 100%.
Yeah. Bullets are not going to kill as many people as tobacco, alcohol, and sugar.
Speak on it.
Any given freaking
Speak
year,
on it.
okay?
You're right. 100%.
Okay. So, you know, when these companies want to jump in there and be holier than thou, I'm like, dude, y'all got to get rid of a whole lot of stuff off your shelves if you truly want to be about that life, you know. But, and hey, enjoy the day. I'm going to cut my grass before it get too damn hot. And we'll talk later, brother.
All right, Brother Forte. Appreciate it, man. You give us a heads up right there. Give us a heads up. So make sure you try to secure as much ammunition as you can if you want to join us on September the 5th. It's critical because, as he's saying, and we've been talking about this offline as well. I mean, it's just a critical shortage of ammunition. They got all kind of weapons. When I did my CCW with them, man, I fired all kinds of weapons, assault rifles, different kind of pistols, automatic, man, all kinds of stuff. But it don't work if you don't have the ammunition. Okay, so I'll keep my eye on that. We'll keep our eye on it together. And I mean, we're going forward with the plan that's scheduled September 5th. But it'll be a week by week thing. Again, we don't have the ammunition, then what's the point of it? That's what he was basically trying to say. Hey, listen, I got to take a quick break, family. I'll come right back and we'll finish up the show. It's the Nathan Ivey Show. I'm live, I'm local, and I'm vocal. The show is brought to you by Sin Digital Media, a new urban voice in the city of Cincinnati. Go to our Facebook page and like and share our podcast. I'll be right back.
The Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson. Joe Biden's campaign has announced a series of steps designed to bridge the racial economic gaps in the country. He also promises to work toward a more diverse Federal Reserve Board that would help minorities access funds and economic development. More diversity in corporate America. Juul has named Teresa Sebastian to the e-cigarette makers board. Sebastian is the first Black woman to become a board member at Juul. A new Census Bureau report finds the U.S. homeownership rate jumped in the second quarter to the highest level since 2008. It was just under 68%. The Black homeownership rate came in at 47%. And Oprah is back in her talk show chair with the new Apple TV Plus series called The Oprah Conversation. The debut show premieres July 30th. The topic will focus on race. That's your Bloomberg Black Business Report. I'm Donna Wilson.
The Nathan Ivey Show is supported by listeners. Go to www.patreon.com/Nathan Ivey Show and help Nathan keep the show independent.
High school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
25 over 92.
180 over 111. I had a heart attack and a cardiac arrest and then a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering your high blood pressure could save you from a heart attack or stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
Brought to you by the American Heart Association, American Medical Association.
This is Zoe Wesson. What side of history do you want to be on? The right side, or one where Black people continue to be underrepresented in Hamilton County? Now's your chance to end 230 years of exclusion. In Charlie Winburn, we have a man that's received the Cincinnati NAACP President's Award, who fought on the Ohio Civil Rights Commission for 6 years, who received the Baptist Ministers Conference Community Service Award. Charlie Winburn has received the Southern Christian Leadership Conference Award and was honored by WDBZ The Buzz as Pastor of the Month. We know Charlie Winburn, and he knows us. He's the right man to put us on the right side of history. On Tuesday, November 3rd, vote for Charlie Winburn for Hamilton County Treasurer.
I am Charlie Winburn, and I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, November the 3rd, paid for by friends of Charlie Winburn.
Nathan,
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor. If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
You're listening to The Nathan Ivey Show. One man, one microphone, one mission. Now let's get back to the flow.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Cubic zirconia and pleather? Is that what they are? No longer diamond and silk, huh? Oh no, them ladies making money, man. I said it before, they making money. They traveling the country, they doing shows, they got a merchandise store, they selling merch. Must be good, man, when you're on the Trump plantation. It pays to be a black unicorn in the Republican Party, the Trump Republican Party, apparently. Let me jump forward here. I want to get as many of your comments in as possible. I can't possibly read them all with the time I have left, but I'll continue even after the end of the show to put them up on the screen here. Please share and like today's show, family. Please share and like today's show. I want to grow the audience as much as possible. Good morning to you. Clifford writes, Barr is lying. Good morning to you. Good morning to you, Malika. Good morning. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Hey, Kelly, what's going on? Good morning to you. Good to see you. Wait, what's up, Don? Successfully sending my 2 sons to college completely debt-free. Gotta play chess, not checkers, y'all. Absolutely. You doing something out there. That's real good right there. What up, Ron P? What up, everybody? Hey, what's up, Geneva? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. Listen, thank you. I appreciate you liking the stream. Please share and like it this morning. When the show ends, there's so many more people that haven't heard it. But if you share it, then perhaps it'll come across their Facebook stream this morning. And they might press play this morning. That's great. You can also subscribe to the audio on Spreaker and on TuneIn if those are apps you're familiar with, either or. Good morning to you. Hey, listen, I want to say thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. A shout out to Team and I. Shout out to my patrons. Shout out to the Chopper. Shout out to my sponsors this morning. I really appreciate you. Support our sponsors. Again, when you hear me doing political endorsements, political promotions, those are promotions, not endorsements. Promotions, not endorsements. I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not endorsing any candidates in the upcoming election. It's up to you to decide. I just give you a strong opinion, a very strong opinion in some cases, and you make your own decision. As simple as that. But I want to say good morning to you. Have an excellent rest of your day. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, bright and early, and deliver more The Blessing of Flow starting at 8 a.m. And also put this in your brain as well. Coming up on Friday, the Is It Just Me podcast with Donnie B, Fridays at 12:30. It's an audio podcast, but we live stream it over Facebook as well. And I'm sure you'll find it very, very informative, very, very entertaining. And please, you can find it right now on Sin Digital Media's page. Have an excellent rest of your day. I know I've said it several times. I'll say it again. And we'll talk real soon. I'm Nathan Ivey, and I'm out.